friends. I've been in Byron Bay since 8 months now, and it's been the most beautiful experience I ever lived in my life. It's just the best place ever.
And I'm Joanna. I'm originally from Indonesia, but I've lived in Australia for 4 years now. In Byron for 2.5 years-ish. And the reason why I'm in Byron Bay is because it's such a beautiful place. It kind of reminds me of home, Indonesia, and the surf is really nice. It's just where nature is. I'm just sick of big cities, that's why I'm here.
Hello, my name is Diego. I'm from Spain and I live in Pamplona, where there is a bull runs in some festivities. I think that I came to Byron Bay because it's a small city with a lot of places related with nature, and also came here to improve my English.
My name is George, from Japan. I love Byron Bay because people are nice, warm, beautiful beach, music is nice. I love this.
Hello everyone, coming to you from Byron Bay, Australia. And if you look on the map, Byron Bay is located just below Brisbane, just above Sydney. And it's quite pristine here, it's quite beautiful. If you watched my past videos, you know that I travel the world and score cities based on how they are to work remotely. And for the past 2 years, I've made Phuket home base. And I decided to leave Phuket. I'm gonna flash back in a minute to Phuket and explain why I decided to leave. Decided to leave Phuket for Byron Bay, and I'm so happy I did. It's worked out great. I'm really enjoying this town and looking forward to diving in a little bit deeper about working remotely from Byron Bay and score it based on the items that you see flashed on the screen right now. But real quick before we get started, I want to flash back to Phuket and share with you why I decided to leave Phuket and not make it my home base for working remotely for now. Why leave Phuket for Byron Bay? 2 years ago when I arrived in Phuket, I thought it was paradise, the #1 place in the world to live and work remotely, but back then it was during the pandemic. There were very few people here and it was a different experience. The entire day back then was just super enjoyable, super easy. There were very few people here, even environmentally back then. The ocean, the sky was more beautiful, it was more blue. You look at it now, it just feels a little bit more polluted. And it's crowded. It feels like the entire Russia moved here. And there's just too many people, too much tourists. And if you look at statistics, before the pandemic, Phuket was the most touristy place in the world, more than Paris by square area. And I think one of the beauties of having the freedom to live and work anywhere is when we're not enjoying a place as much as we once did, or at all, then it's okay to move. And that's why I'm leaving Phuket. I'm gonna have a follow-up video that revisits the idea of working from Phuket. I used to score it a 10. Let's take one final look at the ocean here in Phuket before we flash back to Byron Bay, and it will explain a little bit more, a good reason to leave Phuket and go to Byron Bay. So there you have it. That's why I decided to leave Phuket and come to Australia and explore some of the cities here as places to work remotely, and I'm really enjoying Byron Bay. It reminds me a little bit of the country club version of Koh Phangan. It has a lot of the same hippie vibe, the music, everywhere you walk in the street there's great music, a lot of healthy, organic, good food. As I score Byron Bay as a place to work remotely, I'm going to use the perspective of, say, Chiang Mai as a baseline, because Chiang Mai is probably one of the most popular destinations for people working remotely. So let's get started with Byron Bay. How does it score as a remote work destination? Let's start with the food. Food in Byron Bay is awesome. There's a lot of healthy options, a lot of vegetarian, a lot of vegan, a lot of fine dining, a lot of international food, a lot of Latin-inspired food. So the food in Byron Bay is really great. It scores an 8. The air quality of Byron Bay is really good. It's really, really good. So the air quality index today is like a 7, and the air quality year-round is really good in Byron Bay. It scores a perfect 10. You're going to be able to come here and breathe some crystal clean air. And here we are in March. So if you look at the air quality index in Chiang Mai right now, there's absolutely no comparison. It feels really good to be in a place where we can breathe easy and breathe really healthy quality air. Byron Bay is a perfect 10 for air quality. How does Byron Bay score for housing? And defining housing by availability, by good design, and by good price, that's the part that's difficult in Byron Bay. Housing is super expensive here, and the design of the housing is great, but there's not a lot of availability. So when you meet people from other countries that are working in Byron Bay, they're usually sharing an apartment, but because it's so expensive, the housing score in Byron Bay is a place to work remotely, scores only a 2. Healthcare in general in Australia is really good. Byron Bay scores probably a 7 because you don't have a major hospital nearby, but say you had a surfing accident or needed urgent care, you're gonna get really good treatment. So for healthcare, Byron Bay scores a 7. How safe is Byron Bay? How does it score for safety? Scores a 10. Nothing really happens here. It's so safe. The most that might happen, maybe you're gonna get your bicycle stolen. How's the infrastructure in Byron Bay? It's good. It's just like being in Canada or the US, but you kind of need a car or a scooter or at a minimum a bicycle. And if you have any of those 3, it's going to be really easy to get around. There's not a whole lot of public transportation to choose from that makes it convenient. So for infrastructure, Byron Bay scores about a 7. One of the biggest challenges when working from Byron Bay has been finding a comfortable place to work from. There's a couple small co-working places here, but in terms of cafes like we have in, say, Chiang Mai, Bangkok, or even Phuket or Bali, there's a culture of making it easy for people working remotely to come to a cafe or a restaurant and easily plug in and have a good place to work from. That just doesn't exist here. In fact, there's almost a counterculture. So a lot of the cafes here, one, will close very early, 2 p.m. And then when you're in a cafe, almost every single cafe I've been in doesn't have a plug outlet, in a way, I think, to discourage people from pulling their laptops out. They don't really want that culture in this town. That's a big challenge. So for co-working or kind of that coffee scene culture to make it easy to work remotely from here, Byron Bay scores quite low. It scores a 3. Here's a little bit of a hack for working from Byron Bay. Because there's so few places to work from, and coffee houses, they do not encourage people pulling out their laptops and doing the digital thing. You can come to the local library, which is quite nice. It's newer. The hours are from like 9:30 in the morning till 5, with limited hours on the weekend. But it's a great place to plug in, focus, get some work done. And they even have some private areas, for example, for recording podcasts that can be reserved in advance. And some of that sentiment, where they don't really want to be a culture that attracts like digital nomads, became clear when I went to Facebook and I tried to look for some Byron Bay groups to kind of research the area and maybe join the group. And then this message popped up on the screen. So it kind of gives you an idea of how locals, longtime residents, feel about attracting people who are able to work remotely and live and work from anywhere. I think there's a sentiment that they're really not interested in attracting digital nomads or people who have the freedom to work from anywhere, the remote worker. They have a lot of immigrant workers to help out with hospitality and restaurants, but they really don't want to turn it into or transform it into this big tourist destination where they're saying that commercial like hotels and Airbnb are converting regular residential homes into hospitality. So, but I do sense there's a sentiment here that they're not interested in remote workers or digital nomad. If you talk to the people here, they say in the last 10 years there's been a big transformation for them, for the locals, for the worse, that they miss the way Byron Bay used to be 10 years ago, even though the economy here, I guess, has been rewarded. Every time you look at an index that rates cities around the world for quality of life, there's always 3 of Australia's usually in the top 10. Melbourne, Sydney, and Adelaide. And Byron Bay, if it was a bigger city, it'd probably be in that top 10 list too. The quality of life here feels so good. I think it'd be a perfect place to raise a family, but you can just feel all the surfing, all the outdoor activities, all the nature. Quality of life in Byron Bay is a perfect 10. How does Byron Bay score for cultural diversity? Not so great. It scores about a 3. I don't feel like it's very culturally diverse here, although you'll find that a lot of young people working in Byron Bay are from Latin America. I feel like I hear more Spanish being spoken in the street than English, but overall, when you look around, the overall vibe feels quite homogenous and not culturally diverse. So for cultural diversity, Byron Bay scores about a 3. And now, for the lowest scoring part of Byron Bay, cost of living. It's so expensive here. So I'll probably give just a quick example and take you guys with me to grab a bite to eat and show you what the typical prices are, say if you're going out for a nice dinner. Everyone says when you're in Byron Bay, you must come here to the beach. Popular for really good food and really good cocktails. They have live music almost every day of the week. But I want to come here to show you kind of an example of how much it costs to eat out in Byron Bay. And it's not cheap. So I'm having this delicious like baked pumpkin. But let's look at the menu really quick. So on the menu, if you look at the pumpkin, it's $30 Australian. You have a burrata for $34. You have a grilled snapper for $58. Cheeseburger and chips for $24. For those of you who like to drink, your cocktails, margarita, $23. Byron Bay is not cheap, but when you eat out here, if you're eating out on a daily basis, it gets quite expensive. It's not Thailand. So coming to the gym, it's an important part of working remotely, getting the workout in. But I also think this gym is a good example of just how expensive things are in Byron Bay. You know, I think it's like a daily rate here is $22 Australian. Compare that to Thailand, where a gym like this in Phuket would be about $2 or $2.50 US. Describe Byron Bay.
Probably upmarket, a bit overrated. I come from a town, a casino 75 k's away, and you pay double the price of beer. You might pay $11, $12 for a pint of beer. So it's just a bit overpriced. A lot of people love it.
But things in general in Byron Bay, including rent, is super expensive compared to a place like Thailand. And if you look at one of the most expensive cities in the world is Sydney, and we're not too far from Sydney. So overall, yeah, the wages are higher here and the cost of living here is quite high. So it scores a 1 for cost of living. For the weather score in Byron Bay, it scores quite well. It scores an 8 because year-round the temperatures are quite comfortable, except in the winter it gets a little bit cooler. So for weather, Byron Bay scores an 8. For nature, Byron Bay is a perfect 10. There's so much to explore, all these beautiful beaches, and just right here where I'm walking, just out in the ocean there, if we were to go out there, we would find dolphin, and during some months in the year you'll find whales, and it just feels great. And you can go to waterfalls, go hiking. There's a lot to explore. For nature, Byron Bay is a perfect 10. For health and fitness, Byron Bay scores a 10. You have some great fitness facilities, and if you look around, everybody just feels like they're living an active lifestyle. They're on bicycles, skateboards, surfboards, and it just has a good vibe for fitness. And if you're someone who likes to stay active and go to gyms and go and play water sports, this is a great place for you to come work. And for those of you surfers who, for example, are in Phuket and get frustrated because it gets too crowded and too territorial, I think here, because there's so much beach to surf from, I think you're going to be really happy here in Byron Bay. When working remotely from different cities, one of the things that are most important for us is Wi-Fi. And this is a bummer. Byron Bay in general, I don't know what it is, but the Wi-Fi is spotty. Sometimes it just drops off. And for me, for example, when I'm working on video and trying to upload or download, the process gets long and hard, and the Wi-Fi is just not stable or consistent. So for Wi-Fi, I haven't enjoyed that part of this experience, and it scores about a 2. It's just not that good. For some reason, the Wi-Fi connection in Byron Bay has not been that good. So it scores a 2. What is my final score for working remotely from Byron Bay? First things first. I think Byron is amazing. It feels wholesome, healthy, all the nature, the quality of life, it's a 10. But there's certain things that we look for in a place when we're working remotely that make Byron Bay a challenge, and that is the Wi-Fi, which isn't that good, the cost of living, which is really high, and then just having places to plug in like you have in Bali or Chiang Mai, where it's just easy to, you have that whole remote work, digital nomad culture, and I don't think they want that here. Is a place to work remotely longer than a week, it'd be a little bit difficult here. I score it a 6, is a remote work destination. For those of you who have the freedom to work from anywhere, put Byron Bay on your list and at least make it a stop for a week or 2. You won't be disappointed. Until next time, everyone, I'll see you from the road. Next stop will be New Zealand.
Farewell from Byron.